Hey guys, welcome to WOW. And for those of you in the Kansas City area, I'm going to be at the Warren Event Center in Gardner, Kansas, a suburb of KC, this evening and tomorrow evening. So if you can, check in on that. But thank you guys for watching and sharing this around. You guys are a blessing. This pandemic has been one thing, but God is another thing. So thank you for your support through all of this and me traveling out. Oh my Lord, that is like a dog getting to hunt again. It's just absolutely amazing, and your support allows me to travel to places and minister the word. So I thank you for that. I do have to get there, so I won't. Now, you hear me? It is not my intent to hold you long, but yesterday morning I had a thought, and then I had multiple thoughts, and I don't just come up with stuff to teach. I'd like it to be a conviction of where I am. And I had something on my mind, and I was thinking about it, but yet in the back of my mind, I was praying, what am I supposed to speak on at Facebook? And just like that, the Lord spoke to me, quit overthinking. And that's where I got the idea for today's message. Don't overthink the problem. Now, for those of you that watched last week and you're thinking, well, Mark don't even believe in the Bible. No, I have mine. Do you see this? Yeah, this is the Bible Jesus used. Oh, I'm sorry, I am sarcastic because some people are constipated with it. But in 1 Samuel, the 17th chapter, the 24th verse, I'm only reading two. 1 Samuel 17:24. Now, let me prelude this with this. Israel had gone up against the Philistines. The Philistines had come against Israel. You've all heard of David and Goliath. This is that battle, but it's right before David slays Goliath. So in the 24th verse, and all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him. When they saw the man, fled from him. I'll say it again. When they saw the man, the word saw means to perceive. Perception is based on knowledge. Knowledge is derived by who you listen to. Who are you listening to? Some of you, and I have been guilty of it, but I am getting better at it, and this is our journey. Quit overthinking your issue, okay? And I'm going to show you the psychology, the psychiatry, and the theological perspective of the benefits and disasters of overthinking. So let me finish reading this. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were dreadfully afraid. They were afraid of what they saw. So the men of Israel said, have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel, and it shall be that he who kills him, the king will enrich him with great riches, will give him his daughter, and give his father's house exemption from taxes in Israel. Then David spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, what shall be done for the man who kills the Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel, for this is the uncircumcised. For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of God? Now, I know it's early for some of you. On the West Coast, you're 7 o'clock. Some of you are 6. On the East Coast, you're 10 o'clock. And if you already have church, you'll watch this later. But we have to wake up to this. It is the same battle, but there are two different perspectives. One perspective sees the what. Have you seen what it looks like? Did you hear what the doctor told me? Did you hear what the government is doing? Did you hear how the election ended up? That is the place you're going to stress out and have anxiety. But then there is the David crowd. The David crowd says, who is this man that would defy the armies of God? So if you overthink a problem, you're looking at the what. When you see who you are, you're looking at the who. Now that's very simple in concept, but over all these years of teaching, I had never seen this. And David saw it as a who instead of a what. If you're battling a what problem, you'll have your butt on a prayer list this morning. You'll have everybody in the kingdom praying for you, because everybody that has a what problem is going to absolutely freak out and let it disrupt their life. So you know you have power over the thoughts that you have, but you have to exercise those power. So my question is, and this is very simple and basic today, is what you're going through a what, or is it a who? Well, how do I know it's a what? You know it's a what if you're afraid of what you see. How do I know I'm afraid? You keep praying about it. You only pray about what you're afraid of. Okay? I know all my life I've heard prayer changes things. Prayer doesn't change things. It changes your thoughts toward things. It changes it from a who to a what. And this may go against your religious training, but if what you were taught was truth, why are you still freaked out about what you're going through? You see, it's truth when you have peace. Well, do I see what I'm going through, Mark, as a who or a what? Do you try to avoid it? Then you see it as a what. David was willing to face the enemy. Israel wanted to run away from it. They saw it as a what and not as a who. Do you have panic disorder? Are you distressed about what you're going through? Then you see it as a what and not a who. David saw the who of the issue and not the what. The difference between David and the rest of Israel was how they perceived the problem. And I hope you guys are getting this. Overthinking. Some people overthink, and it's a good thing to think, but it's a bad thing to overthink. And you that watch me enough, and thank you for sharing this around, but in psychology, overthinking, as one author said, overthinking is not a disease. It's due to the underuse of your creative power. You only overthink what you have not made your mind up to do. Overthinking can become a prison of your own false thoughts. The link between overthinking and mental health problems is simply like the chicken or the egg type question. Which came first? Overthinking is linked to psychological problems like depression and anxiety. Research, and I love to study this out, but research is pretty clear on overthinking in that they have determined that overthinking is bad for you and it does nothing to prevent or to solve problems. Now, watch this. And I know only read 2 verses to you, but it is so cataclysmic of revelation that it was the same army, the same giant. One perspective run from the battle, one perspective ran to the problem. If you see what you're going through as a what, you'll run from it. If you see it as a who, you'll run to it. And so I began to study, okay, because I am guilty of that, and I'm sure many of you are. Am I an overthinker? Because you can overthink whatever you're going through. You can overthink it. Well, okay, I just want to make sure, and it can wear you out. So, Mark, am I an overthinker? Let's see what the psychologists say. If you relive embarrassing moments in your head repeatedly, you're overthinking. If you have trouble sleeping because it feels like your brain will not shut off, you're an overthinker. You see it as a what and not a who. Do you continually ask yourself, well, what if I would have? You're overthinking. If you spend a lot of time thinking about the hidden meaning in things people say and what they've done, if you try to analyze why somebody said this, why they would have done this, you're an overthinker. Most of us, most of our lives have fought a what and not a who. You win the battle every time you fight a who. But when you fight a what, that's right. They sell books called Spiritual Warfare. Can I tell you? Do you hear me? You want to hear what spiritual warfare is? Warfare can't happen until you fight a what. And hopefully that saved you guys some money. Yeah, on books. It should not wear you out and all this, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. You're fighting a what? Start fighting the who. Well, how do I know I'm fighting what? When someone says or acts in a way you don't like, you keep replaying what they said or did in your mind. You're fighting a what? You're not aware of what's going on around you because you're not dwelling on the things that things happen in your past and they create a fear of what happens in your future. But if you dwell on those things that have happened in your past, you're fighting the what. Overthinking is so common, and it is caused, number one, by self-doubt. You have self-esteem issues, and you're concerned about repeating the past patterns in relation to your prior experiences. And so if you're in fear of repeating failure, you're going to overthink what you're going through. All I'm encouraging you to do today is quit overthinking the battle. Quit thinking about, oh, I should have, I could have, I would have, but I didn't. You're going to have to quit that. Today is a brand new day. Overthinking is simply fear. You only overthink what you're ultimately afraid of. Fear is like a seed of a treacherous tree. We were not born with fear. It came upon us either through someone's impartation of a lesson or a life experience or some traumatic event in our life. So how do I get over the fear, Mark? Because fear causes me to overthink. How do I get over the fear? You have to awaken, become aware, stay focused on what the Word says about who you are. Many of us, and I'm not saying this because I have arrived, I just found an answer. My everyday battles are not against a what, it is against a who. And I don't want to be so repetitious this becomes mundane in your hearing, but you need to understand many of you are trying to fight a what. And a lot of people that hear me, they think, oh, Mark Shell doesn't believe in a prayer list. No, I'm all for praying. I just don't believe in, I can't say that. I don't believe in just perpetually praying and praying, trying to put God in a corner saying, I need you to do this. I need you to fight this what for me. Israel ran from what David ran to because they saw the what of the problem. David saw the who of the problem. When you're not focused on who you are, you will not eat from the tree of knowledge. Do you remember that in the Garden of Eden? Do not eat from the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Do you remember that? That's where all this goes back to. If you're fighting a what, you're eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If you're fighting the who, you have not partaken of that fruit. Oh, so overthinking to a place of fear is actually eating from the knowledge of good and evil. You cannot read the Bible and say Adam and Eve, oh, they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. if you're overthinking a problem and you're getting depressed by it, stressed out by it, you're eating from the same tree. Why? Why would, and I'm seeing you guys chime in, thank you so much. But you can say, oh, they did the wrong thing. But if you're going through a struggle in life and you're overthinking it, you're eating from the same tree. Now watch this. When you overthink, and I hope you guys are tough, but this is wow. When you're overthinking, you're acting like a Philistine. Who did Israel fight? The Philistines. The name Philistine means to wallow in the dust of your past. What might have been, what could have been, what should have been. When you overthink a problem, you are becoming a Philistine in your mind. Okay? Well, how do I stop that? You have to have a mantra. A mantra is a focal thought that your mind goes back to. Well, Mark, I want to get to the place I can't see the what. That's called a cemetery. And a lot of people pray, oh, I just want to die and go to heaven. Why? Because you don't know how to handle your Philistine. You have to be tethered to the present, not the past. And so all of Israel, they overthought so long, they took on the thoughts of the Philistines. Have you seen this man? And when they saw the man, they fled. It only becomes a giant when you overthink it. I'm going to let that soak just a second. What you're going through is only a giant when you overthink it. Problems have a way of weeding out who is tough and who is not. You know, we can go around saying, I'm strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And that is a good thing to say, but you're not that tough if you run from a matter. When you run to the who instead of away from the what, you have absolutely. And I've got friends watching today that I know you're going through something. I know you are. But peace is proof you're running toward the problem and not away from it. Okay? And that's a tough saying to say. But we have to understand that David showed an example that we are absolutely the people that have been authorized to run toward the problem. So, what is a good tethering thought I can have? Every time you start to feel afraid, your mantra, your tether, your focal point is, I am not a Philistine. I am who the word says I am. I am healed. I am blessed. I am at peace. It only becomes a giant when you overthink it. So if what you're facing looks bigger than you, You're overthinking it. Don't overthink it. In the Garden of Eden, what did God say to Adam when he came in his spirit in the cool of the day? What was his phrase? Who told you you were naked? Adam said, I was afraid. Why are you afraid? Because you saw it as a what instead of a who. Religion teaches that when they ate the fruit, that's when they failed. No. They ate the fruit because they believed the question of the what. My whole life, your whole life, is not about the what. It's about the who that you are in Christ. You are the one in charge of the who and the what. And I hope this isn't too deep for you, but you have to understand, if the doctor just told you cancer, it's not the what. Your battle is not what you're going through. Your battle is who of what you're going through. So, which army are you going to let decide where you are today? It's totally up to you. We all overthink. We overthink. But instead of thinking more about what you're going through, think about who you are. We have more conversations with ourselves than anyone else. Absolutely. More conversations with ourselves than anyone else. And David said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Do you realize the what of what you're going through? David decided, what I'm going through is different from the who that is being challenged. So you have to fight in the spirit for your identity in Christ. In 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, I love the Message translation of this. 2 Corinthians 10:3. The word says, the world is unprincipled. It's a dog-eat-dog in the world. The world doesn't fight fair. It is not a fair fight. But we don't live or fight our battles that way. We never have and never will. The tools of our trade aren't for marketing or manipulation, but they're for demolishing the entire massively corrupt culture. We use our powerful God tools for smashing warped philosophies, tearing down barriers erected against the truth of God, fitting every loose thought and emotion, there you go, an impulse into the structure of the life shaped by Christ. Our tools are ready at hand for the clearing of the ground of every obstruction. And it is building our lives of obedience into maturity. Can I encourage you today? Stop looking at your battle as a what, or you'll flee. Look at it as a who. Who told you you were naked? Who told you that you're going to lose? Don't overthink the problem. You don't have a what problem, you have an identity problem. When you hear thoughts, what, all of our thoughts are usually in this life about the what. You have to get to the who. And the who is this: I am blessed. I am healed. I am favored. I'm going to make it. It's going to be all right. So, anyway, that was a short little message on don't overthink the problem. Don't. Or you'll get depressed. You'll get discouraged. You'll need on a prayer list, hold me up. No. This is all about, as for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. So I hope you guys receive something. I've got to finish up and head to KC. So thank you so much for your support. Go to markshellministries.com, and if you have questions, email me. I'll answer what I teach. You'll have a blessed day, and I will see you next week.